Get my hands back in the screen. Go ahead and show me that I'm live and green. Do you see me standing here written on the walls beside you? Do you see what's going on? Can you see me popping on? Do you see me on your YouTubes, Facebooks, Twitters? I don't even know all the different places we go to anymore. Can you tell me how it goes? Do. Okay, hello? I think you guys should be able to see me. I'm not seeing me. This is scaring me. It's getting freaky. But we should be up, even though I honestly can't see it on the show. Let me double check. Getting things ready. Sorry about this complication. I'm not too sure what happened. It just never popped in on YouTube side. Okay, I see something on Twitter side. Yep, it is working on Twitter side. Alright, so I'm still trying to get the comments up. I apologize for that quick little bit. Let me go ahead and keep on going with what we got, because we are definitely here to see what's going on. And, well, you saw the intro, you saw the title, you probably know what's going on. It's about exiting the algorithm. Let's not say it any other way. Let's just keep it honest today. We're going to do our best to teach you either how to use the algorithm as an exit, or in the very basic generic way, actually exiting the, the system, the setup, everything. It's a little bit confusing, but we're hoping to get you there. Now I want to go ahead and start the show and say thank you to our sponsor. Woo, that did not work out right. Anyways, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, StoneCrypt, for getting us going, getting us on today with the Bitcoin Live Network. Let me see. Boop, boop. Ah, there you are. So, right here at StoneCrypt, I'm going to give you this little button right there to help you figure out how to find it. Just scan it right up there. They're also on Twitter and a bunch of other places. They're basically everywhere you want to see them. They are awesome. I actually have one of these little StoneCrypts. So it's like a way to secure your crypto keys. Also a bunch of other things you can do here. I like to use it for passwords as well. It is very, very handy. Now let's go ahead and, I don't know, jump into today's episode. Woo! Are we missing in the sauce, or are we just getting lost? That's right. I'm just hitting the wrong buttons. Oof. My apologies, but that does mean one other thing. If I'm making noises like that, then I have a chat. Now, I can't actually see what's going on, as in, like, where it's located on the screen. I'd have to get some comments or something to do that, because it's not letting me. Yeah, there it goes. Not letting me do it. Whoa. Okay. So I won't be able to pull the chat up today, as you guys all just saw. It freaked out on me. Okay, yeah, I won't be able to pull up today's chat. I apologize for that. But we're going to keep going and rolling as if nothing happened. Because, well, I mean, that is what we're supposed to be doing. Alright, so anyways, the algorithms are here. I mean, let's just say that's for sure, but do you really want to be a part of them? I mean, I think that's probably the number one thing I see people really asking about and such. They're like, well, we don't really want to be involved, but we are understanding that we're not going to just get rid of them. We're not putting them here, someone else is. So, I don't know, perhaps, you just want to take advantage of the connections the platform has to offer you, but you really don't want to be in the algorithm that comes with it. And, well, that's what today is all about. I mean, I say this, I do say this synthetically, honestly, and, well, in a generic sense, the best that we're going to be able to get, because they make it difficult. Okay. got the chat back. You didn't think it'd happen. Okay. Um, yeah. So, many people are going to think that without the algorithm, there will be no videos shown to them. There'll be no content to get to them. There's nothing going to be able to look up. You'll just have like a blank page. Basically, what people are afraid of is, well, it's like um, a secret, I don't know, web page on YouTube. Look at this. Have you guys ever seen this? Not a whole lot of people have. Actually, I saw a major tech or engineer influencer the other day mention the fact that he actually saw this page, and he was like, "Whoa, is this common?" Nah, this is actually one of the hidden pages in YouTube, so to speak. And so this is what people expect when we say exit the algorithm. But that's not actually true or in reality of what's actually going on when we say exit the algorithm. In reality, what we're talking about is just getting the algorithm to be more what we want or to just not work at all for us. But even more specifically, we want the algorithm to kind of remove us from the algorithm. And I think that's the part that a lot of people are getting misunderstanding. When we say remove us from the algorithm, we mean our data. So let's explain the algorithm a little bit before we actually explain how in the heck we're going to do this, because it's going to get complicated. Like always, you're going to see, like we did with the sponsor, you're going to see up in the right a QR. If you notice down in the bottom, we have another QR. Let me go ahead and hide this a little bit real for a second. If you want to just scan that real fast, visit. Alright, anyways, let's actually talk about the algorithm. So when we say algorithms, we really are talking about something kind of specific. So let me zoom in. So in mathematics and computer science, an algorithm is a finite sequence of rigorous instructions and typically used to solve a class of specific problems in a computation. So algorithms are used for specifications, performing calculations, data processing. They're used to process, do things that humans can do, but it's faster for machines to do it on a scale. More advanced algorithms can use conditions to divert different code and create breaks and do different things and basically have decision making. And we can also then take that and some other things and create inference, which will allow us to be able to automate even more with reasonable expectations. As they say here right above me, referred to as automated reasoning. Achieving automation eventually from these combined processes using human characteristics as descriptors for machines. We also use such terms as like memory and stimulus in these algorithms. So let's go into what does the algorithm look like. So we actually have the picture. It was right beside us a second ago. If you guys were seeing, you could have saw it before I blew it up. And really all the algorithm is, if you really look at it, it's a bunch of inputs, and then they go through a series of separations and then redo that, and then series separations and redo. And then you end up with a logical loop that just can be a continual loop forever. But as you can see, there's a eventual end, which ends up outputting to where I'm sitting, which ends up the output. Boom. That's what it is. D is the CGD of the inputs, values R and S. Yeah, that doesn't really make any sense. And it's not supposed to. But basically what you see is you have an infinite loop set up within the finite loop. So what that means is as long as you feed this infinite loop, this finite loop doesn't have to end. And this is where algorithms are algorithms. Why we call them algorithms and all of that fun and fancy stuff. So I do want to point out right now that the reason why we couldn't bring up the chat was I had to be signed in. The reason why we can get this page is I have YouTube history turned off, which means it's turned off through the Google, which means there is no Google logged in at the moment on this machine, which also means that there's no cookies. All the cookies are being wiped off the machine. And to be honest, if you watched we've done an episode before where we talked about how to set up your browser to do a lot of this stuff. So it is possible to get your browser set up to get this page every time you come to YouTube. And it's because of this, I'm not signed in and all that, we can't bring up the chat. I'm going to go ahead and close this off. We're going to drop back to where we were, talking about algorithms. while I quickly use a different screen. Well, you guys can still see the screen. I keep forgetting chat's up. Well, the chat thingy is up. Chat wasn't actually up. Boom. Alright, we'll just quickly come in here and get someone signed in so I can at least see a chat so you guys can have chat. I don't know. It might happen. It happens a couple times. So what we come down to is there's a few different paradoxes that we can basically use to explain algorithms. In a complete and total sense, it gets to be a really fun situation when you're like, okay, why are paradoxes the reason for being able to explain these things? And what it comes down to is the paradoxes that we're going to talk about by explaining how the paradox works, it explains both how the algorithm works and how to attack the algorithm with basic logical information or basic logical actions, which is, I don't know, to me, it sounds like an easy way out, but it's super fun and simple. It's like a combination of everything. I don't see why anybody would want to do it any other way. Alright, so the YouTube pop. Okay, so chat is back up, and now you know one of my secrets to the algorithm. Let's talk about Simpson's paradox. So Simpson's paradox being the first paradox of logical algorithms, it basically is a phenomenon in probability and statistics. So basically, it just basically says, whenever something is trending, we have some kind of logical data that you're doing in succession, so it's a trend of information. We end up being able to graph that data, those points on a plot or something. And one of the things that can happen is you can end up with two plots that actually cancel each other out when you put all the data together. And they basically explain why this happens. So this is a result often occurred in social sciences and medical science statistics, and is particularly problematic when frequency data are unduly given casual interpretations. So basically when we take very serious data and we act like it's not very serious and interpret it as not serious, that's when we have this paradox. Other times we see this paradox is when we have basically some form of false statistical cluster, when we have enough of groups of whatever, or enough individual sets on the plots that they just cancel each other out. So it's like if you was to go into a single town and you try to find out what's the average of the flavor of soda people like at McDonald's, right? And then you find out like a large portion of people only drink the same soda, and an equally large portion of people don't eat at McDonald's. It would completely cancel out those two sections. But imagine trying to keep both sections in, just going, you know what, let's make these our baseline. Both of these are 1. Now everything else is less than 1. Well, then nothing will ever beat this statistic. You end up having these 2 points of statistics that can never be broken. They are now considered false data. But because it's interpreted as non-serious data, it seems real, it seems serious. Creates this paradoxical situation where we put these two together and they both disappear. Because one's a negative, one's a positive, the exact same amount. Alright. So then there's this accuracy paradox, which you can probably guess from the previous situation. Of course there's an accuracy paradox. If two major sources of information can be just canceled out statistically or logically through the data, then obviously there is going to be some kind of accuracy problem. But it gets worse than that. So basically the accuracy paradox, actually, you know what? I did not give you guys Wikipedia here, and I did not give you guys Wikipedia here. Accuracy paradox is saying that, okay, so when you have a small set number and say the difference in fail to pass is 1%, that same, in reality, larger set number isn't going to be much larger than 1% as well. But say you take 10 times the amount from the original, your difference is going to be larger than 10 times. And that is where the problem is. You will never be able to find it, because you can see here, it is only a 10 scale difference in everything, but actually, no, it's not. It's 2%-ish. And this, is we see when we go, well, how do we find this? It's really the curse of imbalanced training sets, or having only one side to select from, not having a full data point to look at, not having all the information. When you only have half the data, you end up having this problem where you look like you passed, but you really didn't pass. Let's just say it like that. You can have a harder fail point on a fail pass system. Yeah, this is where it gets a little bit convoluted because, like I said, we have an infinite loop working inside of a finite amount of loops. It creates a large scale of rectifying and confusing. But that's the ideal. We want to use that confusing to really expel us out of the network. So, I went a little bit too far. Okay, so we see the algorithm for the most part is just looping and cycling and going through it. So, when we see these paradoxes, and we basically can have it set up where we can restrict new data being viewed from us. And we can also want to restrict sets to be compared to. So that's basically what's going to happen is the system or the algorithm, if I can go back to that right fast, the algorithm is going to look at our sets or pieces of data, compare it to each other to see if it's on a trend or not, to plot that trend on a map, and then plot that data in a memory bank. And then it's going to compare that memory bank or K cluster to other K clusters or memory banks of the same graph type. Maybe it's in different placement or different same placement, or is even opposite to the placement of where it is on the map. The more it can do this, it will create metadata. It's kind of like this purple stuff is metadata. If you look, well, actually the blue stuff is metadata. So the orange is the data points and the sets. The memory banks all start going onto this one side. And then we have these metadata is information of compared information. And then that comparisons can be used against as sets, which means now we have a set of metadata from metadata, this purple stuff. And this purple stuff is kind of like clues the answers. That's a fingerprint. That fingerprint, regardless of where you're at, can be seen anywhere by the algorithm, simply because they're all going to come down to from the same amount of information. It means I can take this fingerprint, run it through my system, and it can output me a name, or set of names that follow this fingerprint. Wow. Now we get why algorithms are so special. I don't have to know exactly how it works to know exactly how it works. So, one of the things that we can really use against things is, I don't know, I like to call this the government paradox, or the DRM of government borders. So, alright, if you go down to the one-sided argument that we were just looking at for addressing that, if you was actually come down and read this paper, you'll basically see that one of the ways that we can get this is, well, by removing some metadata is the best way to put it. So, there is a way that we either like have a positive or negative input data, but it is also like we can have metadata, more specifically disconnected metadata or partially empty metadata groups. So when they go check, there's nothing on my side for them to check with, which then means it's an uneven output, which means it's going to say, hey, there's something here. And we basically use like Data Protection Act in various different ways to create DRM for ourselves, for our own metadata. We can basically use various laws in different ways to create our own DRM for our own metadata without we're using the government against them stuff. That's the only way we can say this. Now, there are ways they have around this, and we'll get onto that. This right now is just a really neat thing that you can kind of use to your advantage. You can basically lock up some of your data in different areas to prevent fingerprint sharing, into a point where they just like don't have one for you because your data is being dropped out of the algorithm. That's the ideal here. So there's all different sorts of things that they can lock up this data for, and so you'll see some of the stuff is some of the really, like people on the real big trolls on Twitter and stuff, they're using this right here to protect themselves in different ways, and they're finding the right countries to hit to go to, and then other certain people who are in certain countries to hit and go to where, you know, one you can make a complaint in that country, and that country can't get all the information, making them have to go to a higher up. But thankfully, there are even rules around that in Europe, in other countries about like transferring the data specifically, removing it from one country to another, or even removing your data from this act. There is even a way to withdraw your own information. But here's, if you really want to get into it, you can come in here and look down. But we're just going to kind of skip over this. I want to let you understand that that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to use VPNs and other things, and we're going to be localizing and setting up groups in certain ways to where we're using digital rights management for our own metadata in our own way by just, I don't know, just using country data leaking laws to prevent them from going border to border. Your guides on international transfers. I mean, why not, right? So, I mean, pretty quickly at a glance, you'll see a lot of these laws are kind of new, which means some of them are going to get changed, moved, adjusted, so you kind of got to pay attention to them. But this can definitely save you down the line, because we have these things like last two to get into for the algorithm itself to explain how we're doing this or why we're doing this. So basically what we're seeing here is the incompleteness theorem, which is kind of still going into the same concept of the first two problems. So this incompleteness theorem basically is a system of axioms whose theorems cannot be listed by an effective procedure. So no algorithm can really do stuff with them. It's capable of proving all truths through natural numbers, but like a consistent formal system, nah, not really. There's always going to be problems within the natural numbers that are true. The second incompleteness theorem basically says the same thing as first, although the system cannot demonstrate its own consistency. So the system can't find its own consistency. There's no consistency in the data, even in the completeness of the data. So when they go and they're looking at your data and they're saying, okay, we're missing data here, we're missing data here, we're missing data here, they're going to start putting together, they're missing all the same data. But if they can't say they're missing all the same data from all the same points all the same time, they can kind of sit there and be like, wait a minute, we got an incompleteness in an inconsistent manner. And they know that's a proven fault of algorithms. You know, I might not have given you guys all these. Let me give you guys all these. Okay, so this was the transfer. This was the UK laws on reports and stuff. And you'll see why I keep going into, and then just UK law and stuff. Every time you see me in one of these specialized pages, you'll see why I keep doing it. So, the last paradox to look at for algorithms is the unintended consequences. And this is kind of a continuation from, again, the last entire... All of the paradoxes we're looking at today are just continuances of each other. Some reason, like, science people can't figure that out. Only the dumb ones can. So, we're looking at, basically, unintended consequences. They have all different ways to say it. You'll see are outcomes of purposeful actions that are not intended or foreseen. So they're getting an outcome they're not expecting. That's all that means, really. But let's kind of look at these different things. So an unexpected benefit is a positive benefit that, you know, it's normally referred to as like luck or something like that, right? Unexpected drawback, or the lack of luck, so to speak, an unexpected determinant occurring in addition to desired effect of the policy. But I didn't want to click on that. So in this case, it's more like, while irrigation schemes prove people with water for agriculture, or can provide people with agriculture, they also can increase waterborne diseases, or waterborne based diseases in that area. And then there's this perversive effect, or result, and a preservative effect is contrary to what the original intended. So when intended solution makes a problem worse. So you're expecting, like, for example, the vaccines to make you not sick, and then they just keep making you sick, for example. Well, actually, this perversive result is the exact thing we're about to abuse. We're going to abuse this, we're going to attack it, and we're going to shove it down whoever collects our data's throats. Because this is going to be the thing that's going to kick us out of the algorithm. They're going to end up going, look, paradox, 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 perversive result seen when manipulating with known paradoxes in effect. And then boom, they're going to go, okay, boot out of the algorithm, we can't have it. It is going to create this problem right here. Everything, they just avoid this, because once they have that, they can't prove anything. They become incorrect. And I'm dead serious, that's what they become. They become incorrect. So, they'll remove anything that allows that. So, you might have been wondering, like, no way these paradoxes are this kind of thing. So here we go. Here's Cambridge semantics. Some of the people who know how to collect your data best, they're like the leaders of collecting your information. Apparently, not only do they know about this, but they actually have a way to get around this. And, well, I have this thing here, of course, my IPNFS node isn't getting out very well, so here is the local file. Ain't gonna help you out, but whatever. So what we're seeing, this is basically the whole thing. Okay, look here. We're gonna start at the beginning. You interact. That's right. You interacted. You created instance data generated by you. This is your analytical data, recorded data, and metadata of you. Then they harvest this data, they collect it, or buy it, as most people do nowadays. Technical metadata, source data, directs info. This is what okay, technical metadata consists of source data and director's info. So where your data is, what it's from, information about it, little things like that. Schema and partial data. So this is like basically like your fingerprints, but not your fingerprints. This is kind of like a template of your actions. And some partial data to back that up. So fingerprint data, so your actual fingerprint and your statistical data that makes that fingerprint. That's going to be here. And also comparable data sets, those K clusters that they can use against you. Or actually use to compare against you, technically. That's all there. So then they enrich their algorithm with this information, and they get semantic data, models and templates of you, relationships and links to you, rules and inference and settings you decided, or of you, or because they saw actions of you and decided that they believe you want inference. And then data mapping and old data maps. So all of your maps, previous maps, and fingerprinting. Wow! This is semantic data. And then that is then used to generate something which then you interact with. And then it keeps on going. Here's the algorithm. The algorithm is literally designed to get you to keep talking to it. It generates something that you then interact with to create instance data, they harvest, and then they enrich the algorithm to then generate again something for you to interact with. So I took that and I made this. Now, of course, again, like I just told you, my IPFS node is having problems getting out, but here it is anyways. Here's the local file. Let's bring this down and show. Okay, we're gonna really go back to the beginning. You interact. Don't let this scare you. Okay? Just because you interact doesn't mean you can't interact. You're supposed to interact. You interact. Don't let that scare you. Instance data. Don't let them do this. Don't let them have data they can use against you that you did by interacting with things. Don't let them store your data. Don't do this. Don't allow them to harvest your data. Technical data. Don't let them do this. Don't let them have this data. Wipe, erase, start new, confuse what little data you do give them. Okay? Wipe, erase, and start anew, and confuse what data you give them. So when they enrich improperly. So they're not actually able to do this. So when they generate, it's error data along with real data that can be then deleted because it cancels each other out. Now, I know for a lot of this, it seems like half the episode, and you guys are like, bro, all you did was explain algorithms. But at the same time, I did explain exactly what we're going to do. We're going to confuse them with information by it not being consistent in any manner. We're going to take that inconsistent data and not allow them to harvest all of it and put some of it behind additional paywalls. And then we're going to erase on our end, constantly erase all of our information, constantly start anew, and force the enrichment program to create new fingerprints on us. So either we have other fingerprints or none. Because you have too much of one set of data, then they'll have to delete it because it messes up their algorithm. That's right. Why is paradoxes so important to allow us to be able to do this? Well, simply, the data paradox is it always needs more to keep on going. I don't think I really need to go down and follow you guys anything. That's it. That's all you need to know. It needs more data to keep doing what it's doing. And so basically the algorithm, because it needs our data, it won't stop. It's designed to not stop. They kind of explain that here, I think, and it will just end up spitting out BS data. This is why it seems like everyone's, including the governments, are getting into data selling racket, because if we don't produce data for company A, then company A will buy government B verified data from company B. Then that's working with government B. So now both company B and government B are profiting from this purchase, and company A now has potentially the same user data on you, just from a different platform. So if voluntarily we give them data, prevents them from buying data, then it also creates both company A and company B's data will be inaccurate or unusable data. So when one of them has partially missing or blocked data, they'll go out and try to buy the others. Okay, now here's the problem. When company A buys company B's data, company A checks it because it already knows its data is messed up for this person. And then it will see this government B verified data doesn't check out. The auto verification will fail, and they'll have people go through it and it will fail. And they'll be like, well, bro, we can't exactly still use this. And they'll get a partial refund, which then makes the government B and company B both look like crap. They both look like idiots because of the system. This is the system we're talking about now. This is how we're doing it, bros. Okay. So now you're probably thinking, what exactly do I have to do to get all this to work? Where it's really kind of like in this, well, how you post and stuff. We'll get into that bit. But first, let's go over settings. Okay, we're going to go over X settings, X Twitters, and it's kind of going to give us an idea of what to do with everything. So don't ask for monetization. If you get monetized, you become an algo marker for comparing with other monetized data sets. Unless you are the top like 1% of all X Twitter, you are always better off competing with the non-monetized market. Another way to look at this is for the mini algorithms, if you are not a business, not an API accessing account, not specifically marked account, not monetized, nor paying money to the company directly with your account, like buying ads, so buying goods like merch does not count, then you are the same as an anonymous user. All the others are mixed and matched with in various ways for various reasons, and the algorithm uses the anon user base as like a baseline for having negative and positive feedback. So there's a way to get out of this baseline area in the baseline area. It's easier to get data dropped from here than anywhere else, because if the higher up you go, they just drop you down. And then so the only way to get out is you have to be here. You have to be at this baseline anon set in order to be able to get dropped out. This is why it always seems like some companies like X always allows a bunch of new anon accounts, because they're just going to drop that at the data set. This also means that you want to stay away from like premium accounts. Like you don't want one. You don't want to be subscribing to anybody in any way. You don't want to have any subscriptions in any way. You want to have as little of these as possible. You don't want to have anyone in apps. You don't have any apps or sessions going on. Have as few of those as possible. So these things right here, up there, apps and sessions. Have as little connected accounts as possible. Don't delegate if it's not possible. I think, like, here we go. So connected apps, sessions, history. You can even log in. You can log out of apps from here. You can see all your connected accounts. You got none. You can also manage delegation. Don't delegate. Only, like, again, we're trying to exit the algorithm. The second you start delegating or something, you become marked. So, if we go like in here, we say like audience media tagging. So like protecting all of your posts and videos will not remove you from the algorithm, but it will definitely scrub your personal data from that information. So there will be a type of fingerprinting, and there will be basics for hashes of the videos and stuff, which are searchable, manipulatable, and all that. And they will ensure that if you're protecting your stuff, you're still in the algorithm. You're just not personally attached, but there will be something there that is usable against you. So they can like use the basics for the video hash. So even if it's partial, so that way it's not playable, but they can still get a lot of information from it, like metadata, timestamps, links, all sorts of information. Maybe even like the image you use before the video plays, like that front video image. So there's all sorts of things they can still sell from that without it being personally selling your information, although it is. Getting tagged in photos can force you back in the algorithm, and you can turn this off, but turning this off will mark your account in similar ways that protecting your posts and videos will also mark you in certain ways. It's just a different type of unique tagging that, well, protecting your videos and posts is tagging your account, and not allowing people to tag you is tagging your account. So don't also mark your data as sensitive, and don't include like location data. Okay, I'm gonna go back in here. Don't have inferred identities. Going through and delete these all as many times as you can. Don't allow your data to be sharing. As you see, it says local information is also right here, so have that turned off. Don't give them information about you locally. That's information they can sell. Choosing not to see sensitive content does actually oddly mark your account, but marking to see sensitive content is marking your account as well. So they mark it both ways on that account. I don't remember exactly where that's at. There's somewhere in here where you can say, I don't want to see sensitive content. Doing that either way, not seeing it or seeing it, does mark your account. So anon accounts are normally marked to see sensitive content. And this is by average user, not by always when you start a brand new account. So by definition, anon accounts are close to unchanged day zero account settings, to make this very confusing, because again, a lot of times you have to go in and tell the system you are okay with seeing sensitive content nowadays. So the platform sets this up where they can basically have certain types of peoples where it's like they go with the, like, we go with the average user on the platform, so we fit in with them. But the system might see that slightly different. And in this case, it's going to keep us fine, because if we say we want to see sensitive content, then they're actually going to consider us to be people who, like, they might not actually want to review content from. So, I think I say this somewhere, I don't see it in my notes, but believe it or not, the people who normally put on there, they don't want to see sensitive content, or they keep that unmarked, they, don't see I don't want to see sensitive content. Those are normally like certain types of people that they watch very closely. And the ones that say I want to see sensitive content, people who are like, I don't care, let me see these things. Those are normally people they don't want to show with certain types of ads. So we're going to keep going. Removing topics and interests as often as possible out of your thing. There's some in here where you can go in here and they'll be like, here's what you're interested in, and here's where your topics. On my phone is the one I see it on the most. So go in and remove them. Just completely remove everything out of there as often as you can. And don't allow location and personalization. You don't need either one of these. These might change every time you log on and off. So that's the kind of the scary thing. A lot of these settings here might change when you log on and off. Like on YouTube, I have it set up to not see captions and stuff like that, so that way you don't know my preferred language and things. But they turn it on every time I come back, and it automatically logs me out. So they're using a cookie to store that data on your device, so you can have it differently on different devices. So some of these settings automatically turn on or off as you log on and off. Keep that in mind. So mute, block, and DMs. That's normally less impactful for the algorithm, than what one would expect. But already Meta uses like mute and block ratio differences across platforms for multiple platform users to see like which ads they may be more susceptible to or interact more, and they use AI assistance in analyzing which ads you might actually click on more based on information from each individual platform they own of you that you're using. And here is a thing where they're talking about how they're using AI to basically make sure they can find the right ad for you. So we're about to view a thing that when you try to go to it, this is most likely what you're going to come across. If you see this and you click start reading, at some point in time, they will prevent you from finish reading. If you instead click this little book button, you will go into the RSS feeding mode, or reader mode, and you will be able to now read this one-time readable thing for free until you close the screen, or the tab, or go somewhere else in this tab. So, why might you want to turn off notifications? Okay. I want to point this out now, because we're going to be talking about this in a second. The FBI can actually use notifications to search and find you. It's a type of fingerprinting. Notifications is a fingerprinting. And believe it or not, no notifications is the only fingerprinting that is the hardest to figure out. Let's go back to what we were just talking about. Okay, so we're going back into resources. One of the resources that we're going to be talking about in here, again, is your physical notifications. You don't want notifications coming to you at all. You don't want to have them looking basically back a long time ago, notifications was a way of knowing things, but now it's a way of tracking things. So now it's all about privacy. So I need to talk about this thing. Yeah, here we go. Data saver and autoplay. Autoplay will allow them to collect data on you automatically. And it gets worse than that. But let's go back to data saver. So turn off data saver. This is an old technique for helping out slow phones, but it's also just not using autoplay. I mean, for most people, when they click data saver, they just don't use autoplay. Autoplay can be used to inject into your device. Anytime a video is loaded over the network, there's chances of injection attack. Anytime data saver is being used, markers are planted on your account and device to help that service, but it is also used for fingerprinting and tracking to ensure you always get the data saver options. This is one of those. It's used to be a bug. Then the FBI and CI figured out what it was usable for, and now it's a feature. Dead serious. So turn off history settings in your Google and other platform settings. This is also maybe including turning off all notifications on all devices, and also on the platform level, on all applications, and again, on all devices. But once you do this, you'll never have to set these settings again. So basically go through all these settings and turn them off on all your different platforms and stuff, and on your different devices and such. And then from that point on, some of them you have to turn off, not like closed captioning or turn it back to YouTube or whatever. But for the most part, you won't have to do it again. And every time you go to a new one, you'll know automatically how to set up its settings, so you'll just be ready for it. And I actually would recommend changing even settings for what emails they send you. A strange tip is to not get any email alerts whatsoever. It does not put you in a spotlight, but getting it set up is getting it set up to where you just get all the emails from the company. Because once you tell the company you don't want emails, they actually mark your account. So you get all the emails from the company, and you go into your email account and set it up to just filter out everything. Like I have to go through one email account, and I have to like I have all these different like folders, and every time I go in there, I have to go into those folders and delete everything. But what I do is I don't you ever go and check my email until I absolutely need it, like until I absolutely need it. So what I do is when I'm actually needing to do something, I'll jump in. I'll go to that folder. I'll hit refresh a bunch of times. I'll see what it is I need to see. Alright, I'll do what it is I need to do. Dude, why don't you spam this everywhere? I don't know, I just started. And why is it your chat not popping on my screen? Edit transform. I like how non-consistent YouTube is about how they do things. Whoa, 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 whoa. What? Why is that not my chat? Whoa. I don't know why. The heck? I know I just stopped everything, but basically, my chat's gone. Put F in the chat for chat. It ran away. It's off the screen, I can't see it. Like, okay, so I see the bounding bounds of it, but I can't find it. So anyways, yeah, get all the emails and go to your email to set it up. Brosive, thank you. Thank you. So we just got, he said, I fixed spamming it for you. Heck yeah, Brosive. But yeah, so get it so when you go in there and you check it, you're like, okay, I did what I need to do. Then just delete everything in that folder. Boom, done, roasted. This will prevent you from tons of like getting hit by spam and getting hit by like the all the like, hey, we have this blah 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 for you. Like, unless you know you're getting it, you ain't gonna see it. So a lot of your 99% of your problems from your email is gone right there. Just then how you use your email service. So if the platform or Google or a service has a card, has your card or purchasing information, they are almost always required to huddle that data, like mailing address for the members. So as long as it is, if you don't have an account, but you do order, don't save the data with them as you order. Just be a guest. Even if you have an account, go log out, get on a different device maybe, or go into a private window and then buy in guest. This gives you this ability to be able to say things like, even if it's something you purchase and you have in your home, you can always be like, well, someone just bought it for me. I don't know. I have my own account. I would have bought it if I wanted it, right? And this tiny little bit of say can basically allow you to buy things in the way you want without having any connection to it whatsoever. This can even be food you personally buy. I know some places you can get in trouble for smoking a cigarette or buying junk food. Yes, there are actual countries that will get you in trouble for buying junk food, especially if you do it online. So it's just like another good reason to have like none of your cards on any of your infos or devices. And another reason for that is like, so someone can actually, so here's the real thing, someone can steal your device, your computer, your phone, whatever, and you have like your card on like saved in your browser on accident or saved on the device for like Apple Pay or something, and then they can buy things. So something that actual crooks will do is they will go through your information, go through your history, they'll find something you normally purchase it, see that it worked, and then go to a hidden ATM immediately. And they'll do this every day until it stops working. And you keep receiving things. You'll start receiving things, and you'll be like, what the fuck's going on? And then you'll call up your card company, and they'll be like, oh yeah, we saw you got a bunch of purchases. And then you'll be like, oh, maybe I don't remember buying this. Or you think your computer is hacked when it's not. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of times it's just an old device that someone just happened to grab, and now they have every access point you ever had, because they have your Google phone or a computer connected to your Google system. That's why I have all of my computer set up to where it wipes everything clean every time every time I do something, if I turn off the browser, like after today, and I turn off the browser, it's going to log me out of everything. It's going to forget I was anywhere, and it won't remember who I was. And now, when you get my phone, okay, sure, you get whatever that phone's on that phone. But it's not connected to anything, any other phone. My computer's not connected. You get my computer, you only get what's on the computer. And this now prevents your cloud anything being used against you, even in times where they have your device. Like, I do want to point this out one more time. We do have a couple old videos about actually hardening your devices, and browser is mixed in with them. I think we put it in all three in various different hardening episodes, like hardening your Windows, Macintosh, and Linux. And between those, we also covered cell phones, all sorts of different things, browsers, and just makes your device a little bit more difficult to get into or to thieve from or to hack. Not always hack, but definitely different things. So I did want to go over one last thing before we solve out, and that's basically like, what are the functions? What are the only functions, and how can you use them once you're out of the algorithm? Because once you're out of the algorithm, you're probably thinking, I can't click nothing, can't do nothing. So let me explain it to you. Let me take a quick sip of my coffee. Alright. Well, subscribing or following in any, this is just basic way to find people. This can be as simple as just creating a list of links that you want to keep up with. I actually have a service online. If you want to go to GitHub, I'm actually creating a better application that you can download to make this, or a package or a zip file that you can download to make this happen better. But there's actually a website you can go to, and you can create offline web browser based lists, hashed lists on a device. I have it on my phone, and like, for example, one of the things I store on my phone is all the runestones I own. So when I find new runestones, I can buy new runestones. I can update it live because it's on my the browser on my phone, but it's not stored anywhere online, only on my phone. I now have a black book, or book of contacts is what this used to be called at one time. And believe it or not, we can still do this online, offline, without fingerprinting in this very fun way. I also have like notepad, sticky notes. I got I use my stone book for some of this stuff. So, and there's really good uses. So, liking and commenting and sharing, these are just the basic interactions. And yes, these become more powerful when you free out the algorithm. Because basically, this just becomes a way to put your face or icon in front of people that you know, that you interact with. Like, you can just click like to let someone know you're thinking about them that day. Because they'll see your thing and like, oh, yeah, I don't know. And then when you talk to them again next time in real life, and you're like, yeah, man, I was thinking about you last week. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, I saw your thing on Twitter, right? You said, and boom. Now, you guys, all you did was like one thing of theirs, and they remembered that because you're not doing it very often. You're not showing up very often. That less of, when you do the one of, is more important and more impactful. And then a commenting will be way more impactful the less you do it. I've actually been working on myself, liking less, commenting less, and, well, not sharing less if I need to. So, muting, when you're not using the algorithm, you're going to see a lot of stuff that you probably don't give it about. So, muting, this will allow you to see from less people randomly. This kind of is like a great way, like if there's people that you really like or enjoy, but you don't really care about all the things they believe in or agree with. I'm sure people do this to me all the time. Just go ahead and put a mute on the person. Cool. You like the person, but you don't want to see all the stuff they share. This is fine. This gives you another reason to visit their person's page individually on a daily or something. So you can see the things that you choose to want to see. So you can skip through the stuff you don't want to see what they have to say or something. Cool. So blocking. This will allow you to just remove people completely from showing back up in your feed. Many platforms use block out of searches as a non-marked account. Believe it or not, I know. Because even if you have opt-in for this, it helps you show like whom you are willing to see opposition from. Like journalists and content creators tend to be the people that actually have it set up to where they can see blocked information in searches. So that's why if you have it keep blocked out of searches marked, your account is considered not marked. Because believe it or not, accounts or these platforms want to see what the journalists and content creators are saying. Many people are addicted to doom scrolling. And this is one of the big reasons why I want to talk about this today. It's a form of addiction that used to create people that were addicted to like going to college. Like, I'm saying this wrong. Doom scrolling is an addiction. It's a type of addiction that used to be, we saw this type of addiction in people who were addicted to going to college, workaholics, and drug addicted and alcoholics as well. So these are all the same thing. Doom scrolling, addicted to college, workaholics, drug addicts, and alcoholics. It's all the same type of addiction. It is a short stimulus addiction. And you get it often, which is why you have to do it multiple times, which is why you're sitting there scrolling for a long while. Alright, so because of this, it forms these more dopamine effects that causes you to kind of want to keep doing it, right? Well, it has it's called a negative enforcing addiction, which negative enforcing addictions push people into more negative forcing addictions. Negative thoughts become a positive reason to do this negative thing. Instant gratification is what you're getting from it. And simply doing a simplified task is not a positive reinforcement. It takes nothing, and you gain nothing from this. That's negative. Working and learning and useful information is helping you in your life and gain something from it. That's positive. It is possible to set up your feed to reduce and remove yourself from doom scrolling, which is something I had done or been working on and figured out and kind of did within the last 2 years. So reduce the amount of information you give the algorithm it will reduce the amount you get in your feed. Use the feed separations to reduce the amount of information you get any one time, to reduce how often you look, to reduce that doom scrolling. When you start seeing stuff you've already seen, get off, move out, new, or just do something different. As the algo notices you leave the app, it will stop giving you duplication of information. If it sees that you stay longer for duplicated info, it will just keep doing that. So every time you see duplicated information, get off the app. It will teach the app to stop giving it to you. Eventually, once you're no longer getting dupes, you actually can even find the end of the screen. You'll eventually get to the bottom. And when you start getting to this point where you're not seeing duplications all the time, when you start seeing the dupes, you actually will get like a feeling of accomplishment. You have less stress, and you're able to just exit easier. It becomes easier and easier because there's nothing new, because you're not used to seeing old data, and you feel ready to leave. This will also like slowly teach you to like. It will slowly teach you to want to see stuff new. It will teach you to not want to see the same thing. It'll teach you to want to accomplish, and it gives you this better feeling at the end. Even if the scrolling isn't that much or anything, you know, sometimes all this constant scrolling, you feel stressed doing it. You feel like you're missing out or something, and you'll lose that feeling of missing out when you feel accomplished from ending, finding the bottom, getting to the yesterday's stuff or stuff you saw already. And well, I don't know how to say this, but getting your socializing tick mark from scrolling, it's not happening for you most likely. But doing this setup, getting it to where you've seen in and the exit and you're getting used to all this, it will. You'll go, oh, I felt like I socialized today. Oh, I felt like I learned about people I want, because I went to their page and saw what they said and learned and was like, oh, I got to know this person today. Sorry. But you're going to get these little ticks marked finally. And then you're going to be like, wow, I really feel like I got time to get stuff done. And then you're going to get stuff done. And you're going to do things. And you're going to be like, what happened? You're going to enjoy your life completely more. Especially if you already like life, you'll enjoy it more. To feel accomplished and updated on your loved ones is a great thing to have every day. And to be honest, a lot of people feel alone nowadays. This will help remove some of that lone feeling if you're literally going to people's pages and literally seeing what they're saying and you're literally learning about them every day. If your actions online get removed from the algorithm, then there's no reason to interact except for actually interacting with people. The traditional way to hide in the algorithm is to over interact. But like double comment, like everything, share and quote tweet everything, flood the algo. But that's not the same anymore. There's no difference between that and a BS interaction. You get to a point where it just watches you more and it sells more of your data. Now, that's kind of the opposite. We need the algorithm to think we're just being looked at incorrectly. We need it to think that maybe we're not actually there. Maybe we're not wanting to stay connected, even though we are staying connected and staying interacting. But we're not generating constant data for this algorithm to become smarter from us. And that's really what makes the difference here, is that we are not spending money on their ads. And that they don't like. That's what's going to allow them to kick us out of their algorithm. We're not spending money on their ads. Why spend money on us if we're not going to spend it on them? This also will remove habits from us. This will remove time drains, mental effort drains. This will give you more time for your life. It will push more positivity into your mood cycle. Although that is a slow return, it does happen. The amount of stress it will remove from your life is insane. The only way a platform can stop you at this point is locking their servers and preventing non-account peoples in, and no one in the system pushing the data out of the locked servers. This is why Meta, Facebook, and Instagram have locked viewership to see anything from their servers. But most of the pictures and videos you can find there, you can actually search from by going to DuckDuckGo or pre-search Bilibili or just Google. And there's always someone out there somewhere else pushing the exact same thing for you. Their closed wall gardens mean less. So it may be difficult to see what perspective I'm actually trying to show to you. So let me explain it simply. Their algorithm is here to stay, but it will change. So instead of letting the algorithm use you, it's time to use the algorithm for you. It may seem strange to not follow people on social media, so follow them. But you don't have to like all their stuff. You just like it what you actually want. And with what we have, what we start up, we can do everything we normally would do with obscured physical data. So data is hard to sell, and then we can begin to not be served as much. And then we only get more of what we want, and then we spend less time on the platform, and then we get a better feeling of accomplishment. We don't feel like we're missing out all the time. We feel like we learned or followed or found someone. We feel like we actually liked something. We actually feel like we did something. And it may serve you data right now, but you can get the algorithm to serve not you as data. And yeah, it's definitely a weird feeling, but don't get lost you won't get lost from your friends. You don't have to. You just gotta exit the K cluster. I know I'm getting into the words you probably don't really care about, and we're past time. What I'm saying is, don't feel pressured into clicking the like on platforms or the share or anything like that. Especially if you're just going to be removed from the algorithm. Only like things that you want to see. Like, believe it or not, even on Twitter, some things that you like on your phone, it's not liked on the computer, and vice versa. So they already know that your like doesn't matter. They already know your stuff doesn't matter. Only thing that matters is they can generate that content from you. So don't let them. Seriously. Okay, one last thing. Just to prove to this, pull out your phone. And you could even do this with a friend. I've done this once in 2016 with someone else's phone, where I was like, hey, Google, send me a Facebook update. And within the hour, my phone updated. And I went on their phone and told Google to do it. It was literally a cross-Google, cross-device pushed update, because my voice was set up for voice recognition in Google. Back in the time where you could actually set up Google to recognize your voice, so you didn't have to say, hey Google, you could say anything without telling it ahead of time to store certain things. They don't use that algorithm anymore because it is now illegal, because of stuff like what I just said. They have different ways to do the exact same thing. Don't believe me? Test it on your phone. Ask for updates for specific apps and see how quickly it takes to get it. Because the more you're stuck in the algorithm, the more you're going to be focused on whatever they give you. The more you exit, the more you rely on yourself, which is a bit more like the original cyberpunk way. The original punk way is to be self-actions. The cyberpunk way is self-action, self-governance, self-duty, self-embodiment for everything we have, both digitalized and individualized.